The morning air was crisp and sharp, carrying the faint scent of frozen earth and pine. Each step she took on the snow-crusted bank of the creek crunched softly beneath her boots, the world around her muted and still, as if it were holding its breath. She paused, eyes scanning the glimmering ice that stretched like glass across the water, when a tiny, quivering shape caught her attention. At first, she thought it might be a bundle of leaves, half buried in frost, but as she stepped closer, the unmistakable rhythm of shallow, uneven breaths reached her. Nestled against the cold ground was a small puppy, its fur dusted with icy crystals, limbs trembling with the relentless bite of winter. The fragility of its tiny body struck her immediately, a stark contrast to the harsh indifference of the frozen landscape, and the silence around them felt both beautiful and heavy, pressing in on the moment with a quiet urgency. She knelt slowly, careful not to frighten the creature,
It's okay,
feeling her own
you're
heartbeat
safe now.
swell with a mix of concern and wonder. In that instant,
through
the
this
world outside
together.
seemed distant, and the fragile warmth of life in that tiny body became her entire focus, stirring a protective, almost reverent impulse deep within her. She lowered herself slowly to the snow, careful not to make any sudden movements that might frighten the trembling puppy. Each breath she took hung in the cold air, visible as a thin wisp that mingled with the frost settling on the ground. The pup's small body shivered violently, ears pressed back, eyes wide and uncertain, and she felt a sharp pang of helplessness in her chest. Her hands hovered above it, hesitant, unsure whether to reach in or simply wait, torn between fear of causing harm and the instinctive need to offer warmth and safety. The soft whimpers and delicate, uneven breaths of the puppy seemed to echo in the quiet woods, each sound amplifying the weight of its vulnerability. She studied the tiny creature, noticing how thin and fragile it appeared, its fur mottled with frost, and felt an undeniable surge of compassion welling within her. Time seemed to slow as she lingered there, her attention focused entirely on this fragile life. With every heartbeat, the connection between them grew, subtle but undeniable, bridging the gap between fear and care. She realized that, in this frozen moment, her presence alone might be the first thread of comfort the pup had felt in its short, cold life. She moved slowly, her hands trembling ever so slightly as she reached toward the tiny, shivering body. The puppy flinched at first, its fragile frame rigid with caution, but she kept her movements deliberate and gentle, speaking softly in a low, soothing murmur. As her fingers cradled the cold little body, an unexpected warmth spread through her hands, startling her with the contrast against the icy snow. The pup's tiny heart beat rapidly against her palm, a fragile pulse that seemed impossibly alive in the frozen morning. She held it close, careful to support its trembling limbs, feeling the small rise and fall of its chest under her touch. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the tension in the puppy's body eased, and it nestled closer, curling into the gentle curve of her hands. Each breath it drew was shallow but steady, a small victory in the quiet struggle of survival. The stark whiteness of the snow surrounding them amplified the miracle of warmth and life she felt beneath her fingertips. In that delicate, suspended moment, the world shrank to the small heartbeat in her hands and the fragile trust being offered, and she realized the profound tenderness that can exist in a single touch between human and animal. She gently lifted the tiny puppy, careful to support its fragile body as she wrapped it snugly in the warmth of her coat. The layers of fabric formed a soft, protective cocoon, shielding it from the bitter bite of winter that lingered in the air and clung to the snow-laden ground. Every shiver it gave under the fabric made her heart tighten, a silent reminder of the fragility of life against the indifference of the frozen landscape. Step by careful step, she made her way back toward her car, the snow crunching softly beneath her boots. Each movement weighed with both hope and worry. Her mind flickered between fear and relief, wondering if the warmth she offered would be enough, if the little creature could truly feel the safety she hoped to provide. Around them, the world was still, indifferent in its vast whiteness. But her focus narrowed entirely to the tiny life held against her chest. She whispered gentle reassurances, more to soothe herself than the pup, feeling an unexpected sense of purpose in the act of carrying it through the cold. The closer she got to a secure place, the more a quiet determination settled in her chest, a promise that no matter how small or vulnerable, this life would be met with care and protection. She settled into a quiet corner, the puppy still trembling softly against her chest, and allowed herself a moment to simply breathe alongside it. The room was warm, carrying the faint scent of blankets and wood smoke, and every sound, the soft patter of its tiny paws, the gentle rise and fall of its chest, felt magnified in the stillness. She spoke in low, soothing tones, words gentle enough to cradle the fragile creature in comfort, while her hands moved slowly, brushing away the frost that clung stubbornly to its fur. Each careful gesture, the tilt of its head, the slow encouragement to shift closer, the delicate touch of a finger along its back, was met with tentative responses, small signs that the pup was beginning to trust. As it relaxed against her, curling slightly into her embrace, she felt a mirrored shift in herself, a quiet unfolding of emotions she hadn't anticipated, protectiveness, tenderness, and a profound sense of connection. Time seemed to stretch, measured only by the slow, steady rhythm of nurturing care, as she focused entirely on its tiny needs: warmth, reassurance, and gentle movement. In that intimate exchange, the bond between them deepened, subtle but undeniable, a quiet promise that each act of care was weaving trust and mutual comfort, one fragile heartbeat at a time. After several minutes of quiet, gentle care, the puppy began to lift its head, eyes blinking slowly, as if weighing the unfamiliar presence holding it. When those wide, tentative eyes finally met hers, a flicker of curiosity sparked, a fragile, cautious trust that made her chest tighten with a mixture of relief and awe. The small movements of its ears, the tentative shift of its tiny body toward her warmth, and the soft, almost imperceptible whimpers it made signaled a growing comfort, a willingness to lean into safety for the first time. She mirrored its stillness, letting her hands rest lightly on its back, careful not to rush the fragile bond that was unfolding. Every subtle gesture became a conversation. A slow blink, a gentle tilt of the head, the quiet, rhythmic rise and fall of its chest against her palm. In those quiet moments, she felt a profound sense of connection, the invisible bridge between human and animal forming steadily with each careful, deliberate interaction. Her heart swelled, not just with relief that it was safe, but with wonder at the quiet power of trust, the remarkable tenderness that can grow when patience, warmth, and empathy meet a vulnerable life in need. As evening settled over the world outside, the golden light fading into soft shadows, the puppy had finally grown still, curling comfortably against her chest with a rhythm that felt steady and secure. The earlier tremors and whimpers had vanished, replaced by a quiet surrender to warmth and safety. She held it gently, feeling the tiny rise and fall of its body, the delicate weight of trust pressing softly into her own hands. Outside, the snow glimmered faintly under the dimming sky, a cold and indifferent landscape that felt impossibly distant compared to the intimate cocoon they now shared. The faint scent of fur mingled with the warmth of her coat, and each soft breath the pup took seemed to carry a story of survival, fear, and finally, relief. She found herself marveling at how a few hours of gentle attention and care had transformed this fragile creature. The bond between them deepened not by grand gestures, but by simple, patient acts of compassion. In that quiet evening glow, a sense of completion and profound connection lingered between them, unspoken yet undeniable. The warmth they shared, tender and encompassing, was a quiet testament to the power of empathy, care, and the fragile beauty of life, gently nurtured back to trust.